I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. Today is Thursday, March 13th. It's windy all day. Gonna be windy tomorrow too, I think, and gonna calm down for the weekend. But I don't think it's gonna be a great weekend to be fishing. You might get out there and have it not be horribly rough from residual wind swell, but it's definitely not gonna be a great weekend to fish. Fishing's gonna be tough. Maybe catch a sheephead or something on the bottom, but it's not going to be a great weekend to go out and try and fish bass or halibut, sea bass. I may be proven wrong on this, but I've seen enough of it to know that the ocean does not react well to these kind of conditions over an extended period of time. Before I get into this week's report, though, I do want to talk about the Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show, and I want to thank everybody that came out and met with me. Stopped by, said hello, bought some artwork from Matt, bought a t-shirt for BD Outdoors. I got a lot of positive feedback last year, but this year just completely overwhelmed the response I got. And talked to quite a few of you at length, and a lot of you guys mentioned things you'd like to see covered, or things that you appreciate about the show, and I want you to know that I hear that, and I plan to incorporate those things going forward. I actually had one guy say that he liked the old sound better than the new sound, which I can't imagine why. But if you didn't make it to the show or you didn't see me, I'm always looking for stuff to cover, so please leave a comment below. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Just liking and commenting helps the YouTube algorithm, and kind of moves me up in the standings here as far as reports go. But yeah, so if you'd like to see something covered later in the year, whatever, just mention it, and I'll try and get it included. And speaking of that, I'm not going to talk about what's not biting this weekend. Instead, we just had the time change. It's starting to feel a little bit like spring despite this storm. And I think there's going to be time for the fish to start biting a lot better. So I'm going to go over the different parts of the Southern California Bight that we fish and talk about what you can expect in each area over the next few months. So I'm going to start up at the Channel Islands like I always do. And the boats up there are catching whitefish, sheephead, the occasional halibut. Can't keep rockfish. That does open on April 1st, and I can imagine, or as you can imagine, a lot more boats can get off the dock then. So April 1st through June 30th, you can fish any depth you'd like. You just have to stay out of the closed areas. And then July 1st through September 30th, I know I'm a little ahead of the game here, but I want to give you guys a little bit of a, be prepared. You can only fish inshore at 50 fathoms, which means none of the banks, only along the fathom curve that is defined along the shoreline and at islands. And that's kind of a tricky thing that the Fish and Game did. So you have to go to their website, and they got a big list of waypoints that show you what lines you can fish. It's way too many waypoints to take them all down. So what I would do is, if I'm going to go fish a particular area, I would definitely have the waypoint showing the line for that area, because you can be in less than 50 fathoms, but outside of that waypoint, and you're still in trouble. Just be aware of that. And then finally, October 31st through December 31st, we have just the opposite of that. You can only fish seaward of 50 fathoms, which means you can fish any depth at banks, because if they don't have a fathom curve around them, and along the coast at the islands, you can only fish outside of that depth range. A lot of dust in here for some reason today. So, once those boats start running rockfish trips, they're going to start encountering sea bass, halibut, things like that. I predict the first sea bass we're going to start seeing, if there's any good numbers, probably going to come from Santa Rosa Island on one of the overnight boats. Mirage, there's the Island Tack, one of those boats that regularly runs over there. They'll be fish off squid bass, there'll probably be some probably those big giant halibut, and some nice sea bass. After that, we're going to start seeing some guys getting sonar school sea bass, where they're driving the boat around looking for them. The Aloha Spirit's real well known for that. And that will always be best around the full moon. Secondarily around a new moon, but the full moon is the main deal up there. And if you're a guy who wants to go catch sea bass in the Channel Islands on a sport boat or your own boat, I would schedule all your trips around the full moon. A couple days before or after is fine. Doesn't have to be on the night of. But those fish are definitely a lot more agreeable at that time of lunar cycle. So after that, they're going to transition into the fishing beaches for halibut and sea bass. Fishing deeper structure for calicos, whitefish, sheephead, all that stuff, with a fallback of rockfish for the most part. Hopefully they have a better season on the exotics up there this year than they had last year. The year before they had bluefin, yellowtail, sea bass, all that stuff, and marlin. This last year was still good, but not nearly as good as the year before. So private boaters up the islands there, you know, I'll probably do a trip up, fish rockfish at San Miguel at some point before they. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter because it's pretty shallow up there anyway. Get a good weather window. I'd like to go up there and fish calicos as well. That's usually a little bit later in the year, but there are calicos that catch you earlier in the year if you want to do that. They've been on the crankbaits, everything else is the front side hard baits. And they'll be on the weedless swim baits to the kelp on the backside, like around Yellowbanks. And I really wish I'd get one more shot to fish at Gull Island closure because there was some pretty nice bass there back in the old days. So, migratory fish, including barracuda, will be around Anacapa Island probably in early summer, and hopefully along the coast up there. In the old days, we'd have migratory sand bass and barracuda show up often off Ventura coast before they even show up in Long Beach or San Diego. So, if we seem to have a little resurgence of sand bass last year, and let's see if those are actually the migratory fish as opposed to local fish just spawning and aggregating. But keep in mind this year, you're going to keep 4 sand bass per angler. And the great new rule coming out to further hamstring us, so don't get caught with 5. Setting down to San Nick and the Dirt Clod. They'll start getting some coverage again once the rockfish is open, especially San Nick. I know the El Dorado is basically on tracks out there every day out of 455 there, Long Beach Sport Fishing. A few other boats will do that as needed. Along with rockfish out there, you have a shot at big halibut and also some sea bass, the yellows, if there's squid out there. So, if that's happening though, I'm going to warn you, don't go on a boat like the El Dorado who's there to fish rockfish, because the people that are on that boat do not care about halibut and sea bass. They want to just catch rockfish. So, there's nothing wrong with that, but just be aware of that. You know, you get on the Pride or the Amigo or somebody out of 22nd Street might be a better shot for doing a trip out there. They usually do like 1.5 day trips to target that stuff better. Long run, and you want to have a lot of fishing time. Santa Barbara Island will get very little pressure. The 3/4 day boats out of Del Rey and Redondo, charter boats might run out there. Idiots like me to try and catch bass there that never bite, and hardcore sea bass and yellowtail guys, and also Jonathan Medrano who likes to go there and catch whitefish. And speaking of Jonathan, he's selling his, I think it's 32-foot World Cat. I think it's practically brand new. He only had it last season. Really good shape. He got a new Freeman coming. So I'll list some specs later. I probably completely screwed up the fact. I probably have the boat length wrong and the year and the price and everything else. So I'm gonna maybe end the little thing in the end. But yeah, you know, if I were you, I'd avoid Santa Barbara Island. You know, if you're a hardcore guy that wants to go anchor up, fish sea bass and yellows for halibut for 4 days and have a 20-minute window of current, that's your island. Otherwise, you'd be feeding the constant wood chipper of blue perch and blacksmith, and you just throw your squidders like zing, zing. I mean, how long do you do that before you get frustrated and try to fish bass, get even more frustrated, and just go home? San Clemente Island. It sucks there right now. Bass survive. They're on those by-the-wind sailors, and hopefully those things go away and don't stick around all year, because that really limits the areas you can catch bass. Yeah, once rockfish opens, I've been the Thunderbird and the Fury at Dana Point. They'll start going there every week again, or all week. I'd imagine there's probably, there was some squid when we were there, off the runway area on the backside. You know, you get those sport boats set up there, catch squid, have a little shot at yellows or sea bass first thing in the morning before light. That can happen on the west end or the east end backside, or anywhere along the front or back for that matter, but mostly it's those zones that the squid likes to hang in. After that, it's basically rockfish for the sport boats. As this water warms up and stabilizes a little bit, hopefully the by-the-wind sailors all get eaten. Springs are really a ton to fish calicos over there. A lot of times you can get across there without having the afternoon west wind we have during the summer. As a rule, I found the east end of the island bites better early in the year and the west end bites better later. I'm not sure why that is. But backside east end is probably where I would spend most of my time. And then as water warms, you know, we get up into the mid-60s. Then there's that often an opportunity to start on the front side of the island, Gold Bluff, White Rock, somewhere around there. You got a shot at finding some yellowtail there, bass on the, you know, deeper spots there, and that will be the switch over that sport boats do as well. They'll stop fishing yellows and halibut, sea bass, whatever, in the dark, and then fishing rockfish. Instead, they'll be anchored up on that front side, basically game fishing all day. It's mostly going to be slow, but you'll have a few windows where the fish bite, current gets right. Typical, I remember trips back when I was 17 or 18 years old. You anchor up all day on the outer limits, Gary Narby running it, and current would be wrong, current would be wrong, current would swing around right, bang, 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 you know, 25 or 30 yellows for the boat, and then nothing again. So that could be first thing in the morning, it could be last thing in the afternoon, you never know. But that's kind of a fun fishery. I've done a lot of it. I remember the Coronado doing it too. And just be patient, keep changing your bait if you're doing it. I'm not here to talk about theory, but or application. I'm just talking about theoretical stuff. So, Catalina, the tragic pile. It's been okay this winter. Last year, fishing bass on the west end backside, all the, you know, top half of the island, all the way down to the closure at Farnsworth Closure was probably the best bass bite we've had there in a long time. Consistently good, boiler zone, swim baits when it was overcast, hard baits, crankbaits once the sun got out. You can replicate that in the winter right now. It's gonna be a lot slower. It's gonna be a lot slower. You gotta slow down your presentations. You gotta sink stuff to the bottom. You gotta do a lot of that. I saw that Clement the other day fishing with Gary and Jay. So it's gonna warm up though, and those fish are gonna move up to the water column. And they're not just going to be in 4 feet of water on the beaches. They're going to be the deeper kelp, orange rocks, all those kelp beds up, you know, up west there. And those fish will come up in the water column. They'll bite the weedless swim bait. They'll bite the hard bait, surface and all that stuff. You'll start seeing some yellowtail in the mix with that. And if it's like last year, by September, we'll have marlin eating bonita in 80 feet of water on the backside. That'd be great to see again. For the guys that fish yellows and sea bass and halibut, it's just going to be just like Clemente. Find a squid bed, anchor up, hopefully you get lucky. Or anchor up on the right beach at the right time, or the right kelp bed. And in those situations, you know, as much you end up sitting by the fleet when you're at the squid grounds, once you get that stuff that's not on the squid ground, you want to get away from the fleet. So I know it's tough to do. So, you know, you may start the east end and run all the way to the west end before you anchor up fishing, but you know, with that kind of stuff, if you got squid or frozen squid, you know, just find a beach with a little bit of different color water, hopefully dirtier, swirly water. Find a kelp bed that's right in parallel to the island and is on the how much stuff I'm getting that one out. On the down current edge, having a beach, a special hide the kelp, then move it on the beach and do that kind of stuff. A lot of that type of stuff, you do it all summer long. Yeah, the bass bite will improve. You know, hopefully we get some barracuda there again. That's always fun. That gets everything else going. The bonita, barracuda will bite. You can go on the front side of the island where it's calm. If you want to take your kids out, go to the east end. Basically from the, you know, Avalon to where those floating mooring cans are there outside the quarry. You could just troll like a little Lucky Craft DD100 on 15 pound, have your boat up at 90 feet of water, stay on at 90 foot depth, or as you go around the island, and you'll hook bonita, and then once you hook one bonita, they'll stick around for a little. If you've got some anchovies, throw it out, otherwise just cast some other lures, and you can do quite a number on them. We've loaded up on those things after bass fishing for Jimmy to take home to Tracy, so once you find them, they bite pretty well. Alright, so along the coast here, I really like the springtime. Not all kelp is really grown in. more casting lanes. You can get in shallower. I really missed a couple years ago when we had all the kelp go away altogether, because that was too easy. You know, just fish crankbaits the whole day. But we're going to need stabilized water, and it's not going to be gin clear or super dirty, and that's part of the problem we have in the winter here. A lot of upwelling, a lot of storms hit PB directly. You give me water from 63 or even 61 to 67, and if the sun's out, the current's running, those bass will feed on the surface all day long. If it's you got your June loom or May gray, it's going to be slower in the morning, and you're better off going after lunch. That's why I do a lot of weekday trips in the afternoon. As with up north, I'm really hoping the sand bass, migratory sand bass and barracuda show up. That was a real boon to the sport boat industry last time, and I'd like to see it again. Hopefully it'll show that we have a strong enough ecosystem. They don't have to take more than one bass away from us. Yeah, South Coast, down La Jolla, Point Loma, all that stuff. It's just like up here, except you got a shot those squid bed yellowtail, or they're related to squid, I think. You know, a lot of guys do trolling mackerel or rapalas, but I think those bigger yellows are associated with squid. And then during the summer, it's going to be like it always is. You know, nothing too exciting down there. So it's just calico sand bass, hopefully get some barracuda, bonita, local yellows, things like that. But most of that'll be later in the summer, or I'd say June to July probably, which is a ways out yet. But you know what's funny is we talk about it as a ways out, and a few months from now it's in the rearview mirror. We talk about how fast it went. So down south, the Coronado Islands, the yellows will show up there sooner than later. They'll probably first show up at the rock pile or somewhere on the flats in between the island and the coast. Or they might be a little bit further down, like off Rosarito, places like that. But that's going to be sonar school fishing, run a gun, drop jigs, stuff like that, and wherever they are. You know, private boaters to sit there with binoculars looking for birds, driving around looking for meter marks, trying to find an area that you don't have 800 boats following the sport boat. You can actually work on your own. And then hopefully those fish filter into the islands like they did last year, and it becomes the big gangbang it was, where boats are all over each other, and it's just, you know, every cast could be a yellowtail, but God, you wouldn't pay me to be down there. Yeah, if I went, I might be the other end of the island, catching one fish, and I'd be happy. But yeah, I think that once that yellows move in and hopefully sticks around for a while, you always get the barracuda down there, and you get the migratory sand bass off Imperial Beach and Tijuana Flats. And then boats are going to start wandering offshore. You know, they already saw this weekend, they saw spotter planes, saw 5 schools of bluefin at 75 miles from the point. I doubt those fish are in the same spot right now that they were then, but I bet you we'll have some boats out this weekend taking a look, and whether or not they find them, they're going to narrow those things down eventually. Those fish are not going to swim 60 miles in another direction just because the wind blew. They're just going to have to be relocated. And this being the full moon, I think coming up, they'll be more active on the surface, more likely to be seen. We'll have multiple spotter planes up over the weekend, things like that. I was just telling somebody at the show, I can almost guarantee you there's already fish in U.S. water somewhere. Water's not warm, but it's stable, and a ton of bait up here. So it's like going to Clemente, so I wouldn't be surprised by that. You know, April is usually a pretty consistent month. It seems like you get our first legitimate shot of tuna, not just one here or there. So I think that's probably, everything looks like we're set for the same thing as last year and the year before and the year before that. So we'll have those fish slide up into, I think they're off Ensenada right now. They'll slide up to those local banks behind the Coronados, 302, whatever, 435, I don't know the names of the banks. I just look at my chart where they are. Then also, I think fish will move out to the corner, up to the 43, along the Clemente Ridge. You know, that's going to be through May, June. Filter up between the islands come July, August, and they may post up between there and the Channel Islands for the rest of the summer. And they'll be there until the only the hardiest will go look for them anymore. And I'm interested to see what that bigger yellowfin ended up doing. I don't think it was all that far. It was down to Ranger Bank, not, a couple months ago or so. It might slide back up here. That'd be cool. Even bigger this year, hopefully. And yeah, this is just me predicting stuff. I think it's gonna be a similar year that we've had. I'm hoping that the amount of anchovy we have in our waters is going to improve fishing. I can guarantee it's going to get the fish more active. I don't know if people will be able to use it properly. Well, like an anchovy on a number 2 hook is a lot different than throwing a Dodger dog out on a 2-0 hook or tarpon. So these are all little bits and pieces. We're going to see how it goes. But yeah, that's it. I'm hoping that by next week we'll be back on our report track, and if not, I'll come up with something else to talk about. And I want to thank you all again for watching, and please remember to subscribe and like the video. It helps me a lot if you do that. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and good luck if you fish.